Some might say that the best part about visiting the United States is the flight back home. And they might have a point, but some things aren't quite as black and white as that. I'm Peter, and 6 years ago, I moved from Oklahoma to Scotland. Last week, I talked about American struggles that you'd never see as a tourist. And today I'm going to be the devil's advocate and talk about American perks that you'd never see as a tourist. Let's jump into it. Number one, owning your own property is becoming increasingly unattainable on both sides of the Atlantic, but there is a massive difference in how they handle mortgage interest, and it is so much better in the States than here in Scotland and the rest of the UK. Buying a house in the US is, in almost all cases, kind of the same as buying a car. I don't mean the entire process is the same as buying a car. I mean the payment aspect is the same. When you finance a car, they work out the purchase price and the interest rate, and then based on the term of the loan, you have your car payment. That payment amount is what you pay for the entire term of your car loan, and it doesn't change. When you buy a house, it's the exact same thing. In the end, it boils down to what your purchase price is with your interest rate and how that works out across the 30-year term, and it is consistent. Once you sign the paperwork, you know exactly how much it will cost you per month from then until the day it's paid off. Other things like your property taxes and insurance might change, but the actual mortgage and that interest rate is fixed for the entire term with no surprises. Here in the UK, when you sign a 30-year mortgage, you are literally agreeing to a 30-year loan with no idea what your monthly payments or your actual final purchase price will end up being. At the start, you do know the purchase price and what your interest rate and monthly payment is, but only for about 2 to 5 years, after which you have to renegotiate your interest rates. We all know that the interest rate, especially on a loan of that amount, has massive implications on both your monthly payment and the total amount that you actually end up paying. A recent example is during COVID. Interest rates were super low, and many people bought a house at like 1.8 to 2% interest. 5 years later, people with an American mortgage will have the exact same payment that they will have until it's paid off. Whereas people here in the UK had to renegotiate at around 5% interest rates. On average, the monthly mortgage payment increased by over £300 per month. And for some people, their mortgage payment literally doubled. On a £200,000 mortgage, the difference between a 2% and a 5% interest rate over the course of those 30 years literally works out to be over £120,000 extra that you're paying and might not have anticipated. Buying a house is usually the biggest purchase you'll ever make in your life, and I think it's absolutely bonkers that you're expected to sign a mortgage and commit to paying it back with no clue as to how much money you're actually going to have to pay back in the end. Next up is car insurance. Yes, I know it's more expensive in the States, but American car insurance tends to follow the car, not just the driver. So you can loan your car to a friend or a family member without having any extra faff, because even if they don't have any car insurance, you have car insurance, so you're covered. Here, when you insure your vehicle, it only covers you and that specific car, nothing else. So if you need to become the designated driver for a friend who's had too much to drink, or split driving time on a road trip, or borrow a friend's car for some errands, it's not just a matter of grabbing the keys. You have to buy temporary insurance coverage before you even start. To be fair, that probably is one of the reasons why normal car insurance is cheaper here than in the States, but it's still a little bit of an extra hassle that can come up here, whereas in the States, you'd never have to think about it. Yes, in Scotland, prescriptions are free, and in the United States, it sometimes feels like you have to take out a 30-year mortgage to pay for them. But in the US, if you need to pick up your prescription at odd hours, there's pretty much always somewhere open that you can go to. When I lived in Oklahoma, it's not like I needed to pick up a prescription in the middle of the night every time, but sometimes I did. And sometimes just based on my work schedule, it was easiest for me to go pick up my prescription at 2 a.m. when I was on my way to work, or at 2 a.m. when I was on my way home from work. Scotland doesn't really have that. I don't think there's a single 24-hour pharmacy or chemist anywhere in the country, so you can't pick up your regular prescription at odd hours if that's more convenient for you. This is my second car-related point, which is U-Haul. If you've never heard of them, U-Haul is basically a company in the States for renting moving trucks. They've got competitors, but U-Haul it's one of those things where the brand name has turned into the actual term for what you're saying, like calling a photocopy a Xerox or calling an instant print a Polaroid. U-Haul has locations all over, and in Tulsa, the downtown location actually had a 26-foot box truck sitting on the roof since the 1970s. In the States, if you need to move something big, you go rent a truck. They have a pretty big variety of sizes of trucks available, and you can literally move your entire house in one trip without having to pay for movers or a man with a van. You just need a standard driving license and about $50 to $200 and you're good to go. Here in Scotland, there are plenty of places that you can rent a van, but I'm not talking about vans, I'm talking about box trucks. I'm assuming the main reason is because a standard driving license here will only let you drive up to about a Sprinter van size. And if you're wanting to drive a 26-foot box truck, you'd have to have a different kind of driving license, which most people don't have. I completely understand and agree with that aspect of driving license restrictions. And to be fair, the roads here are wildly different. I absolutely do not want to drive a 20-foot box truck down a single track road here in Ayrshire. And especially as I'm getting older, I just don't want to move an entire house worth of things by myself with a few friends that I paid in pizza and beer. But still, there are times when even renting a 10 or 15-foot box truck could come in handy to move house here in Scotland. Speaking of moving, let me interject with a quick 30-second sidebar related to that topic. I stay pretty busy with my kids and everything else that life has thrown at me lately, but I've got some big plans for this channel. So if you're interested in learning more about how life differs between the US and Scotland, or if you want to see more videos exploring some of the amazing things in this country, please make sure and hit that like button to let YouTube know that you enjoy this kind of content. If you're feeling extra generous and want to go a step further, there's also a link in my bio and on screen where you can buy me a coffee. I'm not going to go into the exact details of why right now, but I am working on moving a bit closer to the Glasgow area fairly soon, and every little bit helps. With that being said, let me jump into my next point, which I think I miss even more now that I have kids who make it their sole purpose in life to turn my entire van into a crisp and snack leftovers museum. It wouldn't be a comparison video talking about America without 3 of the points being car related, right? Before I moved to Scotland, and especially before the kids were born, for years my car was pretty much always spotless. I spent a hell of a lot more time on the road in Oklahoma than I do here, and there were times that I would wash my car or at least vacuum it literally every single day or every other day. And that was because of my car wash membership. That membership cost me about $20 per month, and it gave me unlimited access to the vacuums and 1 wash per day at any of the company's locations. At that time, there were like 4 locations and they were spread out pretty well around town. So basically, anywhere I was usually just a few miles away from the car wash. There might not be enough demand here in Scotland to sustain a business like that, but it was really nice being able to always keep my car pretty much spotless at one fixed price where it didn't cost me extra to quickly go clean out my car if someone spilled something in it or it got pelted in bird poop or something. As time goes on, I am more and more disgusted by the whole subscription economy. And I will be doing a video on that probably early next year. But this is one subscription or membership that I would actually like to have again. This next one does bear having a big asterisk in front of it because I am just talking about one specific aspect of banking. I'll be releasing an entire video in November about banking in the US compared to the UK, so don't come at me in the comments yet thinking that I'm endorsing the entire banking system of the States. I'm also fully aware that credit cards can be very dangerous things, but credit card rewards is maybe the one thing the US actually does better than here. Credit card rewards in Scotland are pretty much non-existent, whereas in the States, it's almost kind of rare to not get some sort of rewards with your credit card. My basic Capital One credit card in the States gave me 1.5% cash back on every purchase, yet my Capital One card here in Scotland gives me nothing. And both of those cards have no annual fee. In the States, many people put all of their day-to-day purchases on credit cards, things they were going to buy anyways, like petrol or groceries. And of course, this is the most important bit. If you pay it off at the end of the month, you don't pay any interest, yet you still accumulate your cash back or airline miles or whatever it is that your card gives you. I know it's not actually free money, and I'm sure they pay for it through the merchant transaction fees, which are significantly higher in the States compared to here. Of course, this also only works if you actually pay your balance off in full every month. But it's a clever way to at least feel like you're getting extra for the purchases that you were going to make anyways. When I lived in Oklahoma, I was a Sam's Club member. I went there all the time to bulk buy groceries, and unless it was after hours, I would always try to get my fuel there instead of at Quick Trip. I should have made Quick Trip one of the talking points of this video. Anyways, Sam's Club doesn't exist in Scotland, but its nearest competitor, Costco, does. Costco only had one location in Tulsa, and it only opened a few years before I moved here, so I never went. But the day before I flew out to move to Scotland, I drove down to that Costco and bought a membership for one specific reason. Once you have a Costco card, that membership is valid worldwide. I'll link the video I made comparing Costco in the US to Scotland, but basically, I knew that if I didn't buy a US Costco membership and transfer it over, I wouldn't be able to shop at Costco once I moved here. I understand the legal and zoning reasons as to why Costco membership here is limited, but it is a bit frustrating that I had to buy a membership overseas in order to be able to shop at my local Costco. And that's one aspect where Americans kind of have it a bit better. So these were 7 great things from a country that I still packed up and permanently left. I realize that sometimes my opinions can come across as a bit black and white, and sometimes they are, but not always. Just because I do often point out issues in the United States doesn't mean that literally everything there is terrible, because it's not. In one of my videos a couple years ago, I think I said something along the lines of, the grass isn't always greener on the other side, but for me, the grass in Scotland is generally a bit greener. And that still is true, but there are some things like what I talked about today that might be worth stealing for life here in Scotland. Anyways, let me know in the comments what you think I missed or what you'd swap out on this list. I've got a back to school video coming up soon and several other comparison and story videos to look forward to. If you missed last week's video about American struggles that you wouldn't see as a tourist, you should watch that one next. That's it for today. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time.